Hello everyone, welcome back. Drink your water, also grab a notepad if that would be helpful. So just in case this is the first video of mine that you're watching, my name is Ellis. I'm an illustrator from Leicestershire in the UK, and recently I did another Kickstarter. It was actually my 6th Kickstarter, and since completing it I've actually had some messages over on Instagram where people have been asking if I have any tips or advice for launching your own Kickstarter and stuff to bear in mind, stuff like that. And I thought, because I'm not on Instagram very much these days, it's not my favourite platform. I do still use it a little bit, but it's not like my main sort of place where I channel my business anymore and document things. It tends to be here on YouTube, and I just thought that it might be a lot more helpful if I just consolidated it all into one video so that it's all in one place. And if you want to just chuck this on in the background whilst you're doing your own work or crafts, hobbies, whatever it is you're up to, then you can just listen. So just in case you're new to Kickstarter and you don't know what it is yet, it's basically a crowdfunding website. So if you have a project or a product that you would like help bring into life, you can create a project on a platform like Kickstarter. It's basically a platform that already has the structure there for you to essentially let people place a pre-order for a product that you haven't yet made. Or you might have made it, you might have got a sample made of it and you just want to crowdfund to get a bigger batch of it made. I'll get into samples and stuff like that a bit later into the video, but I have made lots and lots of points here mapped out in front of me. It's one of the few times that I make notes for a video just because I'm useless and I don't tend to know what to say until I'm sat in the camera and I just let it happen. But that's basically what Kickstarter is. If you're an artist, a small business, anything really, you can use a platform like Kickstarter to crowdfund and collect funds together to go towards manufacturing processes and funding products. That's what I use it for. So this was my 6th Kickstarter. Would it be interesting for you to know which ones I've done in the past? So my first one was for tote bags, then I did pins, then I did pins again, then I did washi tapes, then I did washi tapes again, and my most recent one was for pins, washi and keychains. All 6 of them were successfully funded, but I have noticed a pattern. So the more I've learnt about Kickstarter, the more experience I've gained with Kickstarter, the better the campaigns have done. Now I did notice some different activity with this Kickstarter, and I wanted to talk to you about what I learnt with my last one, and just the comparisons that I've noticed between the two, because my previous one, the one that I did last summer, actually just got blown out of the park. It did really well, and none of my other Kickstarters have done quite as well as that one. And the reason for this is it got featured on Kickstarter's homepage, and it also got featured amongst the projects we love section on Kickstarter. And I don't entirely know why this happened, but after doing a bit of research, it can be down to having a lot of people visit your project early on. So if you get a lot of traffic there in the first few hours, then that can make, you know, it's a Kickstarter algorithm, it can make Kickstarter think this is something that we should be paying a close attention to here because it's going to do really well. So that's a good one if you're driving lots of traffic to your campaign via social media. Just get people talking about it, get lots of promos going before you launch your project, and also having a really catchy title and project image. So let's go through all of the bits that I've written down for you, and hopefully this can help you on your way to having your own super successful Kickstarter project. So first of all, as I say, having a really great title that's catchy, it's enticing, it's making people think, what is this? And also having a great project image that clearly displays what you're setting out to do. Having a really nice, clear, punchy graphic can, you know, that's the first thing that people are going to see from your project. That's the place where you need to be displaying your entire project basically into one teeny tiny box. So have a good play about, see what fits into that box. Obviously don't overcrowd it, don't make it too simple. You want it to be nice and like, oh, what is this? And that is what I've tried to do with mine. You can edit this project image after you've published it. So if you add more products, if you unlock more products, if you want to add a banner across your project image that says everything unlocked, so that any newcomers to the project can see that image. And this sun is terrible. We're trying here, we're trying to So any newcomers to that project, if they see your image and they're new, they haven't seen it before, it might encourage them to actually place a pledge if they can see that everything's already been unlocked, and whatever design they want to get their hands on, they don't have to worry about you unlocking it because it's already unlocked. So that is something that I would suggest doing, is keep an eye on your project image and bear in mind that you can change it. Where's my highlights pen? I should probably highlight these off as we go. I've never actually done this and I really should pull my finger out and do something, but create a promo video to go on the homepage of your Kickstarter project. It just basically helps to introduce you as the creator, help people to feel at ease with you, and you know, build that trust between you and customers. So obviously it helps to have an understanding of how Kickstarter works. So if you are not familiar with the platform and you're considering launching your own campaign, head on over, have a look at how other people structure their campaigns, have a look at their tiers. I've written down here, have plenty of tiers to choose from. Just bear in mind that not everyone's the same. I'd also suggest offering some early bird slots, which have always worked wonders for my campaigns. It's basically a discounted slot, so a discounted tier. Make these limited edition, build up some hype around them. I usually only have like 5 of each available, so that encourages people to act swiftly and think, I want to secure one of those spots for myself, because they're not for everybody, they're not unlimited. But if you just take a little visit over to Kickstarter and have a little mooch around, have an explore, just see how other people are putting their projects together, and it will also help to familiarise yourself with just the layout of the website and just make sure that you gain an understanding of how the platform works. Something I will put early on in this video, and it's something that always baffles me a little bit with the way Kickstarter works. So I think I recently explained this to my patrons and I have to just sit and get my head around it. Say for example you have a pin. Say this pin within the campaign costs £8 to pledge for, but it also costs you an additional £2 for postage. That pledge then gets put together in your jar. Here's your Kickstarter jar. £10 gets put into the jar, which then as a creator you look at that £10 in the jar and you think, I've got £10 to put towards manufacturing then. But you don't. You have £8 to put towards manufacturing, because that £2 needs to be left over at the end for postage. Does that make sense? It's something that's always really bothered me, I suppose, about Kickstarter projects, because it makes it a little bit more confusing. If there was a way for them to break that sum in half, or even, you know, 3/4, so 3/4 is your manufacturing fees and costs, and then the last quarter, all of that is postage. I think for me it would help to break it down a bit more, but as the creator you are responsible for keeping an eye on all of the money that's coming in and keeping track of, you know, a percentage yourself to put aside for postage. What you don't want to happen at the end of your campaign, this is even if you have something that needs posting, you might be doing a digital product, a digital service, or a digital reward, which I've seen people do. Sometimes you might offer a digital download colouring page or a zine, for example, and you don't need to include postage within that cost. But if you're posting out physical products, and these are big pins, they weigh quite a lot, so when there's a whole box of these going out, postage, you soon eat into your postage. So just make sure that you're definitely covering all bases there and trying to figure out for yourself how much postage needs to be taken out of that lump sum. What I tend to do is make sure that my goals include a postage buffer. So if my initial goal is X amount, I then boost it up a bit more so that it includes a postage buffer. Buffers are really helpful to have within Kickstarter campaigns, and again, transparency is key when it comes to Kickstarters with your customers. Just make sure that they're aware that you have included a bit of a buffer within your project. So at the end of the campaign, I'll look at all of my funding, all of the money that's been accumulated together, and I'll make sure that I've left a set amount behind for postage. Don't spend all of that money on your manufacturing fees and all of the products and packaging, because you need to have money left over at the end for your postage. What you don't want to have happen is have no money left over and that you're actually at a loss after your project's ended. A Kickstarter project is meant to literally kickstart you into your next business venture. It's meant to give you a boost. It's meant to, you know, just give you a poof, give you a bit of pixie dust up the backside. That's what it's meant to do for you. So at the end of your project, you don't want to be left like you've made a loss. A Kickstarter project at the end of the day is to help you and your business grow. This then obviously ties into make sure that you have an extra thorough breakdown of your manufacturing costs. Include postage of the manufactured costs. So you might order a product in and then it costs an extra £10 to get that shipped to you in the first place. So make sure every single pound, every single penny is accounted for. Things like buffers are really handy for customs fees. So if you're importing anything to your country from a different country, customs fees can be really difficult to figure out until that product is trying to get through customs and the people in customs are, you know, weighing up your parcel and assessing like, how much do we charge for customs here, because it's really difficult to try and work that out. That's why a buffer within your funding goal can be really useful. And then speaking of the money side of things, understand that Kickstarter, I think they take about 5% in fees. And then what I also do is I boost this up to about 10%. So make sure in your funding goal you have like, just imagine that 10% of that funding goal is going to be taken away. This is because no matter what, with any of my projects, I've always had dropped pledges. I've again recently spoken to my patrons about this to try and break it down, and also it's something that always, it can easily catch you out, and that's why I wanted to add this into this tips and advice video. So basically, Kickstarter ends, your campaign ends, it's successful, everyone's dancing and singing that everything's been unlocked. And then Kickstarter, once the campaign's ended, within the next few days, Kickstarter will try and process those payment pledges from all of your backers. What happens then is, you know, they're card payments, they're online payments, sometimes things bounce, sometimes there's not enough money in an account for Kickstarter to take the money, sometimes it's a bank not recognising Kickstarter as a company and being like, no, we're not letting you take that money. There's an array of different reasons why Kickstarter as a company, as a platform, might not be able to physically attain that money from that backer. So what Kickstarter does, I think they spend a week themselves, so you don't have to do anything, which for me is, you know, cuts out having any awkward conversations with anybody whose pledge has bounced. But Kickstarter will actually do that for you. They will prompt that person every 48 hours to say, hey look, you pledged, we can't take the money, can you sort your card payment out please? But without fail, this happens every time. Sometimes people won't adjust their payment method. They won't add a new card or contact their bank and approve the payment, whatever it might be that's stopping it. And after a week, Kickstarter just kicks them off. They just remove them from the backer list, which is a little bit difficult and awkward if you have to explain that to your remaining backers, that actually we've lost X amount of money through dropped pledges. You might then have to relock a product. That actually happened to me this time around, so I lost about £300 in dropped pledges, which again can happen for a different variety of reasons, but it meant that everything was unlocked, but I looked at the dropped pledges afterwards and I was like, hang on, we don't have enough anymore. What I actually did this time around, rather than tell my backers that the last product, I think it might have even been this one, it was this or the goose keychain, but it was a goose, this problem goose. She's not a problem, she's a delight, she's a pure joy. What I actually did was I went to my manufacturers and I said, can you offer a different quantity, because I initially set out to fund X amount, and what they actually let me do was mix and match my quantities, and I just went with a few less of the least popular pin, which I think was a little shroomy. So I was going to get 100 of this one, and instead I got 50, and I think I was going to get 100 of the Toad as well, but instead I got 50. And just making that adjustment to my manufacturing prices, it helped to recover the lost pledges that were dropped. I think that's most of the things to do with the money. Obviously nobody wants to talk about money. It's a really awkward topic for a lot of people. We're trying to break barriers here though. We're trying to make ourselves comfortable. So the next few bits, I think that's everything to do with money. Yeah, I think it is. The next thing I would suggest is bear in mind what time of year you want to launch your project. So last year I launched my washi project at the end of the summer and everything started arriving for Halloween. But I wanted to do it so that everything came for autumn and I didn't want it to get too close to Christmas. And this is a conversation I had with one of my lovely illustrator friends very recently. I said I probably wouldn't actually have it around Christmas time because firstly, people are spending their money on Christmas gifts and a lot of the time they want a physical gift in their hand to be able to give to their recipient, and they don't want to have to, you know, they don't want to spend money on something that they're not going to see straight away. With Kickstarter, manufacturing times, especially when it comes to things like pins, these take a month to make. Typically speaking, you might, you know, experience less or more of a time frame depending on whatever product you decide to make. Having that expectation that people will have spare money to put towards a Kickstarter that they're not then going to see a product for another couple of months can be off-putting. So I personally, I don't know how you guys feel, but I wouldn't personally launch a Kickstarter project that would clash anywhere near around Christmas. So point number one is the money side of things, and then point number two is postage turns into absolute carnage around Christmas time. As soon as November to mid-November hits, postage really starts taking a battering, at least it does here in England. There's delays and all sorts, and it just gets worse every single year. Last year for me was hell on earth. I hated it. So the thought of there being hundreds of pounds worth of additional Kickstarter project parcels in the postal system that I'm responsible for, you know, making sure that people are happy with their final product when they get it in their hands. I'm so excited for you to get these. But having that extra anxiety of just, you know, and not everybody goes for tracked shipping. You can scream and shout from the rooftops how important it is, especially for international customers, to get your tracked shipping. Just pay a few pounds extra for tracked shipping. Not everybody does, and also not everybody can afford to do tracked shipping. So, you know, once you've posted it off, sometimes people don't understand that I can't do anything about it unless you have tracked shipping. I don't know where it is. I don't know at what point over the Atlantic it might be floating right now. I have no idea. I can't foresee. Be very, very clear with the time frame for your customers. So if you think it's going to take a month in total to fulfill this entire project, give yourself an extra week or two on top of that. You won't regret adding a bit more time. You just never know what problems you might run into. You don't know if there's going to be delays with shipping and postage and customs and stuff like that. So you might project that it's going to take about a month to get your project done, but I always allow an extra week or two, and I've never regretted doing that. It's always better to get things to your customers earlier than too late. I think it's really useful to understand when your customers are spending money and then try and sort of balance that out with your own workload and where you can introduce a Kickstarter campaign. They are hefty, they are a lot of work, especially if your Kickstarter is super successful. You've got a lot of parcels to process and pack. It's a really exciting time. I love doing Kickstarter projects, but I'd be lying if I said that they weren't at the same time very draining, and they're just exciting. Like, everything is just like buzz, buzz, buzz for a good few weeks, and then just the adrenaline of getting everything out to your customers is a good kind of buzz. But at the same time, you wouldn't want to, you know, put that on your plate if you already have so much to do. It usually takes around 3 weeks after your project has ended. So your campaign's ended, the Kickstarter are now trying to process pledges, and due to the dropped and bounced and difficulty with attaining some people's pledges like we discussed a bit earlier, it can take around 3 weeks, and for me it took about 3 weeks this time. So it takes 2 weeks for them to process the money. They then release the money to your bank, and then depending on your bank then needs to process that payment. You could offer your backers a free gift in order to, you know, encourage them a bit more to stick around with the project. Pop a pledge in. If you reach your funding goal, you might be in a position to, I don't know, get some stickers manufactured, and you could offer a free sticker into your backer parcels. People love a sticker. Obviously reply to your messages and your comments. Engagement on your Kickstarter platform, like any other platform, is important. Just stay in touch with people if they have questions, if they have anything they want to talk about within the project. Even if it's somebody telling you that they're really excited for a certain design, thank them for their enthusiasm and their support with the project. What I've actually found really useful with this campaign is ordering samples. Sometimes obviously you can't order a sample of something like pins. You might have found a manufacturer who will happily make a few, but typically speaking there's a minimum order quantity for a variety of different products, and you can't just order one or two. With my keychain manufacturer, they actually allow you to order a sample. It's on their website. You can just order one just to check it out. Obviously ordering just one, it's expensive. I think initially I spent about £70 in the first place just buying samples, and the first samples I actually went with recycled acrylic initially for the keychains, and I was kind of testing them and quality checking them, and I wasn't happy with them. In the end I went with the cherry wood, and it's such a beautiful finish. If you've ordered one of the keychains with the Kickstarter, I hope that you love them as much as I do, because they've come out so much nicer than the acrylic ones ever were. But the fact that I could have ordered hundreds of pounds worth of acrylic keychains and I could have not liked them at the end of it. So if you're able to order a sample, do it. It allowed me to explore improvements and make tweaks. It gave me a better understanding of the finished product and what it would look like, what it would feel like, the longevity of it, how is it going to stand up, how is it going to hold up, long term. I don't want to just make something that's going to last a week and then it's going to break. It's also really great for marketing, so you can then take a photo of that finished product and you can use it within your campaign and give people more than just a digital mock-up. Digital mock-ups are fine, especially if you are, I had to learn how to improve my skills over on things like Illustrator to put together an enamel pin mock-up, and I learned how to do the clipping mask tool on Procreate to look like it's got like a metal sheen across the enamel pin design, and it's a really great way of making it look like you've done like an enamel pin metal mock-up. If you're still at an absolute loss as to how to get started with your campaign, have a look at what other people are doing. So if you are setting out to do enamel pins, for example, hop on over to Kickstarter and have a look, see what other people are doing with their campaigns. See how much they need for their campaign, what are people typically pledging, what rewards are they offering. Another thing I would strongly suggest doing is breaking your campaign down and making it so simple to follow. There's a lot of information on mine, granted, because I try and tick every single box. Any question that anybody might have, I'm just like, here it is, here's a time frame box, here's a shipping box, here's how you can add things on box, here's how you can upgrade your shipping box to tracked shipping. All of it's on there. So I think that's about it. That's everything, like as much as I can think of. If there's anything else, I'll be sure to drop it into future vlogs and things, but this is like the main bulk of everything that I've been able to think of that's helped me with my Kickstarters in the past, and I really hope that it helps towards your own campaigns as well. If you didn't pledge to my Kickstarter, as I say, there will be some leftover bits and pieces, but I won't have a great deal. I have been really quiet since returning from maternity leave last year, and as I say, it's like a constant case of adapting my ways of working and my processes and stripping things back to the bare basics. And it feels like a Kickstarter campaign allows me to flesh out my business a bit more, bring new products in, stock the shop up. It also will allow me to put some of the extras into my wholesale shop, which is, I'm now on Fair, so if you're also interested in selling wholesale, I'll have a link down below. And if you are a retailer that would like to stock any of my products, then you can also sign up with the link down below. If you are a retailer, you'll actually get 50% off if you use the link down below with free shipping for a whole year. You can save up to £200. So just to end the video, thank you so much if you did pledge to my Kickstarter, because it really does help to keep my own small business going through strange and turbulent times. And I hope that by providing this video with some tips and advice on stuff that's worked for me, I hope it works for you, and I hope that that also helps to give back to our arty small business community a bit more as well. I will catch up with you all very soon.